Did it again. Dun, 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 dun. I had the audio off, but I remembered. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and I'm efficient. How are you? Welcome to the show. We are previewing Manchester United's FA Cup game against Newport. That's got to be worth some exuberance in the chat tonight. A Manchester United game to preview. Back of the net. We'll also be talking about all the latest news coming out. It's come out this afternoon that there will be no signings for Manchester United. But go to work on Wednesday, take the missus out or the husband or whatever. There's nothing going to happen on transfer deadline day for Manchester United, is there? We'll be talking about where that's coming from and why that's happening. Also, Ivan Toney and Brobby being linked to Manchester United, and a centre-back from Juventus in the last few minutes from Di Marzio. So we'll talk about that as well. Lots and lots to get into on the show. But let's start off with possibly the biggest news, and that's coming in from The Athletic. Now, I want to give Sam a shout-out, who works for us on Twitter, not TalkSport, works for us on the United Stand, and that's football. I call him Mini Romano. I think he's going to, well, or Ornstein, whatever you want to call him. I'm sure some of you follow him on Twitter. Very, very good at team news and transfers and getting bits of information. And basically, he said to me last night, from a very good United source, who I won't name in here because it's not fair, but don't expect any business in the next few days. And I was like, Sam, I'm not saying that on a stream. No, I'll sort of say it could happen, but I'm not going to say it. And if you watched the video last night, I sort of went, it could happen, but it doesn't make any sense. Well, this is what Laurie Whitwell has reported today. So I've got to shout Sam out because his source was very good yesterday. No new signings for Manchester United expected in the January transfer window. Tight finances mean even loans are ruled out at this stage for Manchester United. We are expected to give the final approval to for Pellistri very, very, very soon. Callum Wilson, I saw Beth's video early. I actually thought, I didn't have my glasses on. I actually thought it was Binder waiting for an interview with Beth. And because she's so pro Anana, I was like, we've got Binder on for an interview. And because she likes Anana, I was like, she's just snubbing him. But then when I put my glasses on, I realised it wasn't. It was just a fan. But look, I think in relation to where we are, it's disappointing that we're probably not going to do anything in the window. But, then again, if I was Ineos, I'd probably say we're not going to do anything in the window as well. That's probably what I would say, because I'd be thinking, well, you know what, then if we do something, then it makes us look really, really good, doesn't it? So, yeah, I mean, look, I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it pans out. But I can see why they're not looking to do anything. We are going to preview the Newport game in a minute. I can see why they're not looking to do anything because, maybe it is financial fair play. Maybe the fact that we couldn't get Amrabat on a permanent deal last August was because we had no money left. I mean, maybe that's what it's all about. But it's hi Mark, can you call my mate Morgan Thomas a prat? Just done that, clicks. And Oren, thank you very much for your super chat as well. So yeah, it is disappointing, especially when there are still a few days left of this transfer window. But I think we have to be realistic to the fact that Ineos are at the start of a review and probably don't want to waste any money. And may look at it and go, as harsh as it seems, and some people might be quite happy with it, the credit card is maxed out, says Revo. Maybe it is. As harsh as it may seem to people, maybe Ineos have just said to Ten Hag, look, you're not in Europe, get on with what you've got. The only real sympathy you could have with Ten Hag is that maybe the problem here is more about how the striker issue was never solved in the summer. Whatever you think about Ten Hag, we never did sort something out in the summer. So, maybe that's a fairer way of looking at it. I don't know. It depends what you think, I guess. But I also feel that it just worries me a bit if Rasmus gets injured, that we might miss out on European football. I think that's the thing that bothers me a little bit. But at the end of the day, this is the story coming out that we're not going to spend any money in January. So therefore, I suppose we just have to get on with what we're doing, don't we? Simple as. So in other news, there is a story coming out, and if anyone in the chat can remember this, I'd be very, very interested if you could tell me about it. But I can't remember where this was from, and I'm having a little bit of a look here. David, thank you very much. Oh no, he's retracted that. Akash says, only the Glazers can screw up the finances of an organisation that generates nearly $1 billion in revenue. Hope we get a director of football in place soon to spend efficiently. Thank you very much. There's a story that's come out about Ivan Toney. I always call him Ivan. I don't know why. I don't know why I do it. I don't know. I don't know. I just can't help myself when it comes to names. I call him Ivan Toney. Obviously, it's Ivan Toney. It's from Laurie Whitwell. It's in The Athletic. Okay. So Ten Hag likes Brian Brobby, who's 21, after their time together at Ajax, while Man United are watching Ivan Toney's return to the Premier League football with Brentford. I'm just going to summarise this on all three. We are going to preview Newport, but it's Newport. So, look, let's get into the more meaty stuff first. In relation to Ivan Toney coming to Manchester United, what are your thoughts on that one? Welcome to everyone who's tuning in on TikTok as well. I've got my live chat there. I can read that and I can read the other one as well. If you're on YouTube, make sure you smash a like for Burnt. He's just gifted 5 memberships, which means you're getting a badge in. Make sure you subscribe. Big shout out to Burnt for that. But Gal says, I wouldn't want him. Much love from Ireland, says Abysmal Yo-Yo. And love you, bro, says Michael. Thank you very much for all your support, everybody. Simon Lee is actually from Newport. Be careful what we say. We've got Simon Lee, who's from Newport. But this is from The Athletic, and it's from Laurie Whitwell, so I'm not going to dismiss it. Apparently, Manchester United are interested in Ivan Toney. And also Brian Brobby. So if I did I can only do a poll on YouTube here, but would you take Toney? Because if I said Brobby or if I said Brobby, well, let's do it. Let's just do it. If I said Brobby or Toney, who would you take? I know which way this is going to go, but I personally am going to stick with what I've been saying recently. I don't think Manchester United are targeting Ivan Toney or Callum Wilson or Brian Brobby. I don't think they're targeting anybody because we haven't got a director of football at the moment. All we've got is a legacy mistake of the Glazers and Murta and, you know, everything that's gone wrong, and Sir David Brailsford doing a review. We haven't got anybody actually in place to go, we're targeting Ivan Toney, we're targeting Brian Brobby. Ooh, let's go and get Callum Wilson. The Callum Wilson story is actually very relevant to Manchester United. I was listening to Beth this afternoon outside Old Trafford, and I agreed with a lot of what she said. I mean, why are Man United linked to Callum Wilson? Because Newcastle want to sell him. Why do Newcastle want to sell Callum Wilson? Because he's getting old, and they need to sell to buy. It's no coincidence to me that Almiron, Callum Wilson and Trippier are all up for sale for Liverpool, for Newcastle. Because they're all 30 or above, and they need to remove those wages and players. And if you have to remove people, you go for big earners and older players if you're trying to build a project. It's the same as us thinking about getting rid of Maguire and Lindelof and Varane. Like the players that are approaching 30 or 30 and above, who will be on good wages, because you're always on your best wage when you're at your 30s, because when you hit 30, because that's going to be your final big contract, isn't it? And that's exactly what Newcastle are doing. So we're not going to be signing Callum Wilson at all. In relation to what Laurie Whitwell says about Ivan Toney and Brian Brobby, I mean, Brian Brobby to me concerns me. I mean, he's back at Ajax, having been at Dortmund. I think that's a concern. The fact that he's been out of the Eredivisie and come back does worry me. But on the other hand, I don't think for 1 minute Man United will sign Ivan Toney. And I don't know what you think, but I don't think for 1 minute we'll sign Ivan Toney. And do you want to know why? Because he's 28 in March. Brentford are going to want over 60 million quid. And it doesn't, in my opinion, fit the profile of what Ineos are all about. Ineos are about building a new future for Manchester United, a new excellence, a new mentality, a new structure. Signing a 28-year-old for £65 million, I don't think they'll go anywhere near that. I don't think that's what they want to do. And there's nothing wrong with Ivan Toney. I think for Arsenal, he could win them the league. But Arsenal are not Man United. Man United haven't built a team yet. We haven't built a structure. And I think with Ivan Toney, we're running a project for the next 3 years. In 3 years' time, we'll be 31. And there's no resale value. I don't think United go anywhere near Ivan Toney. And that's not before you say, well, hello, we've had issues with Di Maria, we've had issues with Ronaldo, we've had issues with Greenwood, we've had issues with Sancho, you know, we've had issues with Pogba, we've had so many issues with players for various reasons. You know, they're not all the same. Those players are not all the same, but there has been issues there. Ivan Toney has just been banned from football for however many months because of an issue. I don't think United want to go anywhere near issues. And look, I'm sure Ivan Toney is never going to have that issue again. But he is somebody still recovering from that issue, whether you like it or not. And if he's admitted that he's an addict, well, you speak to any addict, they're always an addict. They're just, not doing it. So I don't think Man United would go anywhere near Ivan Toney because I think there's just too many red flags in relation to age, price, and we're trying to build a project. I like him. If he was 22, 23, maybe, but I think we have to set parameters at Manchester United. I really do. Just had a question come in here from Sam, 26 Barry. Sam, 26 Barry says, what about Osman? What we're hearing about Osman is that he's going to sign for Saudi. Whether you like that or not, that looks like what it's going to happen with Osman. He's made his mind up. He's decided what he wants to do, and apparently he's going to join Saudi, which is a shame because I quite like Osman. And Kunku says, what if it's Chelsea? I'd be very surprised if Victor Osman has decided he's going to Chelsea. I'd be very, very surprised, but you never know. Hi Mark, love the content recently. I've just found out I'm being made redundant. Any words of wisdom for me, says Ryan? Yeah, get a job. Mojo says, Mark, do you believe that seeing all the changes that Ineos are planning, our players might pull up their socks and start performing? 100% Mojo. I know it's not a new manager, but you're 100% correct. We will see a new... we're going to see a manager bounce over the next few weeks. I'm convinced of it. I'm absolutely convinced about it. Ryan, that was a joke, by the way. Loving the content. I just found out I'm being made redundant. Any words of wisdom for me? I don't know what you've been made redundant from, mate. I don't know whether you're excited, happy, or sad. Hopefully you've had a payout, and just use it as a time to reflect. And if I got made redundant once, and I just went and got a job in a pub. I was doing like 5 shifts a week. The money was the money was good, and it gave me a bit of time. So yeah, maybe use it to reflect. Being back cup winner, says Kyle Robinson. Bring back cup winner Wout Weghorst. Get your words out. But yeah, I think Mojo makes a great point. I do think we will see a new manager bounce. Yeah, I do. Even though it's not a new manager, I think players will be playing for their future. Look at all the positivity around Ineos. Look about all the talk about mentality and ruthlessness. These players are going to get another chance. What I would say to Ineos though is, because we as fans have seen it, and Sir Jim should have seen it as well. Don't be fooled. Don't be fooled by it. They did it after Mourinho got sacked. They went on a bounce. They did it with Ten Hag last year. They went on a bounce. The problem with this squad is not the fact that they can go on a bounce. It's about sustaining the bounce. So Ineos need to be very, very careful because this squad is capable of bouncing to the summer. And then Ineos go, oh, let's keep them all. And then next season, you'll realise your mistake. They've got to be wide awake to the fact that I think we will get a bit of a bounce. But I think they will be. I think some of the plans will be starting to be put into place into ways that they can raise money. But I wouldn't take Ivan Toney. I think it'd be good for Arsenal, but I think for Manchester United, we're not where Arsenal is. And it might take us a couple of years to get where Arsenal are. So we're not... Look, I think with Arsenal, the missing piece is a goal scorer. With Man United, there's more missing pieces than that. So yeah, that would be my issue with that. But 78% of you would take Toney over Brobby. I'm not surprised about that. Brobby really worries me. Christian says, are the new affiliate network rumours true? I don't know what those rumours are, Christian, but there we go. Not too sure what that's all about. Please do subscribe to the channel, by the way. Get involved with the United Stand, the community, the biggest and best community in my opinion. I'm just going to very quickly preview the Newport game because that is part of the show tonight. But before I do that, Tristan's given us a super chat on YouTube, and he says, given the reluctance to sign a striker this window for backup, do you think the academy strikers such as Charlie McNeil could get a chance this season? Tristan, I don't think... Well, Joe Hugel's on loan at Burton, and I don't... As much as I like Charlie McNeil, I think that over the last 18 months, there's been a bit of a stagnation there. The loans haven't worked out. I can't believe for 1 minute that Charlie McNeil's about to get game time for the first team. It doesn't feel like that in relation to his development over the last 18 months with loans that he's been on. So... I don't think that. I think if Rasmus were to get injured, we'd use Rashford up front. If they were both to get injured, I think you're going to have to get creative and start playing false nines like Bruno or Mount, or maybe just stick McTominay up there, like some of you said you would. Terp says you've gone with a very strong lineup for Newport. Well, Newport County are in League 2. League 2 is after League 1, and it's just before the National League. So they are, I mean, they're not going to get relegated. They're 14th in League 2. That's the same league as Salford, Sunshine Gary Neville. They're in 20th. So Newport County are above Salford. It's the same league as Wrexham, who are second. Now, they beat Wrexham at the weekend, last weekend, and they're unbeaten in their last 4 games. I'm excited about this game against Newport, mainly because we're going to win, and also because it's at a little tiny ground, and that's the magic of the FA Cup as far as I'm concerned. Now, some people say, why would you go with such a strong lineup against Newport County? Because we've got a massive game against Wolves. It's Division 4 for the old lot. Yeah, Rob. We've got a massive game against Wolves coming up on Thursday. Massive game against Wolves. And Simon Lee says, mind your words, he's a Newport fan. We've got a massive game coming up against Wolves, and... we can't... I thought about, let's play Harry Maguire. Let's play Victor Lindelof. Let's play Scott McTominay. Let's just leave it how it is and give some people some game time. And then I thought, well, actually, I don't care. This is perfect. Pick your strongest team. Varane and Martinez haven't played together in months. Casemiro and Mainu have never played together. The front three need to keep growing together. Bruno needs to get some discipline in the number 10. I'd go with your strongest team. It's a 4-day gap to Wolves. So my idea is you've got subs. You play Binder in goal, Delo at right back, Varane, Martinez and Shaw, Casemiro, Mainu and Bruno, and then Rashford, Højlund and Garnacho. You put your strong team out, you get the game won, and after an hour, you start taking people off and bringing on Harry Maguire and Christian Eriksen and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And that's what you do. But I think that's logically the way to go about this. And I don't see why we need to weaken our team. And then, if you weaken your team and you pick your strongest team against Wolves and then they're rusty again, get some bloody minutes into these people's legs. 100%. Most of this lot haven't played enough football. Casemiro and Martinez, they're not fatigued. They've been injured for 3 or 4 months. Varane's not played a load of football and he's had a bit of time off. Luke Shaw's coming back from an injury. So yeah, I think they've all had a break as well. I think go strong, and then if you want to, you can start making changes. From being excited about the Champions League to a game against Newport, says Mario. Yeah, but I think the reason I'm excited about this is because Man United haven't played for 2 weeks and it's the start of 3 games in a week. Newport, Wolves, and then West Ham at home. Then you got Villa after that. So we've got United are back now. We're back playing games, and the transfer window has been very disappointing. And I was saying this I nearly said the name of the player again. I can't do that. I've been in trouble. I'll tell you what, if this was tomorrow night after I'd been to the pub, the name definitely would have come out. But I was saying to them last year after the World Cup, we had a game every 4 days from Boxing Day to May. You couldn't get a breath. United were playing so regularly. this January has been weird. It's almost been like the summer transfer window. There's hardly been any games. I mean, that Spurs game seems ages ago. So, yeah, I'm excited about it. Can I just give a big shout out to Alan Major Banks? He's given, Alan Marger Banks, actually. He's gifted 10 memberships on YouTube. So if you've got your badge in, make sure you give him a shout out. Nicholas Lawler as well has gifted 10 memberships. Very generous to Nicholas and Alan there. Thank you very much. For doing that, and make sure you smash a like if you got one, or if you just want to smash a like. Mark, did you see the darts Man United player playing? I saw Luke Littler playing darts with Harry Maguire and Ericsson. Maguire's actually good at darts. Somebody in the chat actually said Maguire's better at darts than football. I think that's a bit unfair, but he is quite good at darts. I think it's because he's quite tall, isn't he, Maguire? Oren says, with the team on the weekend, would it not be good to start players like Ahmad and Kambwala to see their ability in a full game? Well, look, I'll run another poll on this because I think you do make a good point, and I'm not here to dictate my opinion. It'd be very interesting to get yours. Would you go strong or would you go weak? Well, let me say this: best 11 or play some reserves. So what would you do? As I said, for me, I would go strong because we need to get fitness into the legs. We need to get chemistry in that team. So I'd go strong for an hour. Yeah, definitely. Who do I think is going to win the Premier League? Well, I think Man City probably are going to win the league, to be honest with you. Man United did lose against Burnley behind closed doors, but it can stay behind closed doors for me. Thank you very much for your super chat, Seth. I've actually just got no interest in it at all. I don't know why people are even bothered. Behind closed doors, getting your fitness up, I don't really have a massive issue with it. I don't have... What's that all about? Don't know what's going on there. Oh, that was that Instagram thing I did, didn't it? I banged my head. Which was interesting. Okay, there we go. That's fine. Lovely stuff. Make sure you give us a follow if you're watching on TikTok, by the way. Thanks everyone who's tuning in on there. Nice to be live with you. Lots to get into still. Daniel's been a member for 21 months. Hope you're well, Mark, says Danny. I'm looking forward to Bienda's debut, finally. And what about Kvaratskhelia, says Akshay. Well, it'd be costing a lot of money. The funny thing about Bienda is, I was watching Beth's video today, and she was talking about Bienda, and she said, I'm really looking forward to see how he does. Literally, it could be the most anticlimactic debut ever. I mean, he literally does need to have a few shots and stuff, because I've seen these games before. He might not have anything to do. I mean, if you thought Wigan were bad, welcome to Newport. Like, this is a bye into the quarterfinal, not the quarterfinals, the round before the quarterfinal. And I'm not disrespecting them. This would be a bloody minor miracle if Newport... I mean, did you see how crap Borough were against Chelsea? That could have been 9-0. Imagine what we... I mean, I want at least 5 goals in this game, by the way, just to wrap up the preview section. I'm not going to demand 5 goals, but I think let's go and get some confidence in the final third. We've not scored enough goals this season. We've not created enough chances this season. I mean, mercies for the weak. You know, lads, you've got license to absolutely go and batter them. Don't feel sorry for them when it's 9-0. We want 15. No, but seriously, we should try, obviously win the game. But if we're 2 or 3-0 up after half an hour, put your foot on their neck and absolutely press down. You know, a foot on the pedal. That sounds nicer. But yeah, let's absolutely go out there and get some goals in, because I think it's a really exciting opportunity to get some momentum, as I said, ahead of the games that we've got coming up in the league, where they're going to be very difficult. If you're not aware of what those games are, you've got Wolves away, tough game. We saw against Brighton, they can keep a clean sheet. Then you've got West Ham at home. We need to give them some back. And then obviously it's Villa away, which is going to be very, very hard on Super Bowl day. Just to give you a bit more clarity, if you're tuning in, this was from The Athletic. January's transfer plans will remain unchanged despite Martial undergoing surgery and being out for 10 weeks. The club are not projecting any major signings, and even a loan arrival has been ruled out at this stage, with United spending severely restricted by profit and sustainability rules. And that's quite incredible, really, when you think about it, because as we were talking about this morning with the Deloitte rich list, Man United made £650 million last year, and yet we haven't got any money. And, you know, you've got to ask the question, why haven't we got any money? And the answer to that question is, we haven't got any money because we've spent it all on debts and silly wages. That's what we spent it all on. Here's an interesting story for you. Hipsters, get ready. TikTok, YouTube. I'm looking at you lot. We may have some hipsters. I'm sure we do. This was breaking news just before I came live, and this was about 10 tonight, 10 to 8 o'clock. Manchester United are strongly interested in Bremer. United have been following him for a lot of months, and they're expected to make a move in the summer. And this is coming in from DiMarzio, who you'll know from last summer. DiMarzio can be very reliable. He was very good in the summer around what we did in Italy with Onana and what we did with Rasmus. So again, he might be right here. Now, who is Bremer? He was at Torino before. He's played for Brazil 3 times. He's currently at Juventus. He's a defender, and he plays at centre-back, right-footed, 26 years of age. Contract till 2028. You know, this really surprised me. This really surprised me. Mojo's just gifted 50 memberships on YouTube, by the way. What a fucking legend he is. Absolute legend there. He will not be beaten by 10 memberships gifters. So he is the dog's bollocks of this chat. And there's a load of badges in the chat now because of that. Absolute legend, Mojo. As we know, he never fails to deliver. And he never fails to surprise. Hi, Mark. I've been gone for a while. Describe the state of the club in one word, says Nort. Actually. Yeah, that's probably how... Yeah, I don't really know at the moment. 6 months ago, I'd have said shit. Hopefully, in a year, I'll be saying positive. But I think at the moment, I'm a little bit... Nicholas Lawler says, Mark, you're a boss. You stand over Sky Sports. Watch the Aston Villa game with my boys from South Africa live. Wasn't any good without your commentary. Thank you very much, Nicholas. You're a legend. Remember that MK Dons game? Hopefully ain't that going to happen, says Mario. And Alex Riley says, I love the confidence, but I've seen enough of this team to know you can't rely on them. And Stephen King says, will you be watching City Spurs game tomorrow? I am going to do City Spurs on That's Football tomorrow. So I'll do United Stand at 7 o'clock. I'll have to cut short Friday night pub, I think. Serp says, Mojo with the win. Thank you very much there. But yeah, just going back to that, what are your thoughts on Bremer? It sort of stunned me. I obviously know who he is, but it's just never anybody that I'd thought about in relation to Manchester United. Just never really thought that. And yeah, the fact that it's coming from DiMarzio, you can't just dismiss it. But yeah, I don't know. Right, he's a right footer. He is a right footer. I mean, we seem to be awash with right foot options, and we can certainly add him to the list. Sam says he's very good on FIFA. Thank you, Sam. Any news on Malacia, says Dylan. I will give you an update on that in a moment. Hit the thumbs up, people, says Kanjay. 14 months of the Moose, man. Thank you very much, Rob. Stay away from them Moose. And yeah, any thoughts on Bremer? Raymond says he's an amazing defender. Look, add him to the list is what I say. If United are scouting him, then fair enough. But when it comes to centre-backs at the moment, you've got obviously Todibo, you've got De Ligt, you've got Branthwaite. I think Tapsoba's still on the list as well. You know, add in Bremer as well. I think all of those are right-footers as well. So we're obviously going for right-footers here. Look, I'm not going to rule it out. I think that if DiMarzio's talking about this, he'll have good information. Man United have got a lot of scouts. I'm sure Manchester United are scouting him. I'm sure they are, but they'll also be scouting probably 30, 40 other centre-backs. So add him to the list. But as I said, when it comes to transfers for Manchester United at the moment, we won't have a definitive list. I suspect what happens is Manchester United will appoint a director of football. He'll come into the job. We talk about the games we've got against Newport and Wolves and West Ham and Villa, by the way. If at some point in the next 2 weeks we haven't appointed a director of football, I'll be very concerned. Like, this needs to happen quickly. The CEO, great, well done. Very important position. Would I have rather had a director of football before CEO? Come see, come sa. But we do need. There can't be a gap. We can't get a director of football and then wait ages for a CEO. We need this director of football in very, very quickly, because what will happen is you will get a director of football who comes in. He's then got to assess the club and decide about scouts and whether he wants an assistant. But he's then got to look at all the targets that people are looking at and decide whether they're the right people or not. So, look, he might come in and go, yeah, we're not getting De Ligt, we're not getting Bremer, we're not getting Todibo. But that needs to happen before anybody can start talking about, oh, we're interested in Tony, or we're interested in Brobby, or we're interested in De Ligt. I don't take any notice of that. We're probably scouting all of them, but they won't be on a definitive list until we get a director of football, and that's got to happen. Of course it has. Tej says sack Beth. Why? She's doing a very good job. Leave her alone. Do you think Edwin van der Sar would be a good director of football? I know it's yet another Ajax connection. No, I don't, actually. I think that Paul Mitchell or Dan Ashworth are the people to go for in that position. I wouldn't be going for anybody else, no. There was a good question there about Malacia. By all means, fire in your questions. I think it was a super chat on YouTube. Let me ask who. Yeah, it was Dylan, actually. He said, any news on Malacia? Glazers out or Southgate as coach, says Metro. I ain't playing that game. Well, the Glazers... I'd rather have the Glazers stay at United than have Southgate, because they're staying anyway with Ineos. So, the Glazers aren't going anywhere, so I don't want Southgate. Mojo's on the payroll, says KFJ. And thanks for keeping us all entertained and in the loop during this dreary winter, says Druv. Thank you very much. Make sure you smash a like on video. The latest on Malacia is that he's had a setback again in relation to... Well, not again, but he's had a setback in relation to the injury he had in the summer. It's not gone to plan, the recovery. He's been injured since May, I think. So he's getting on for 8 months and he's still not back close to playing. So, I mean, he's not really a player that anybody ever talks about. People talk about Luke Shaw or Martinez or Casemiro where they're injured because you need them. But nobody really talks about Malacia. And I sort of understand why, because we don't really know if he's good enough or not. Well, he's certainly not good enough when he's injured. So, yeah, I don't exactly. Reece says, who's Malacia? And I think that's, it's a concern because Luke Shaw is so fragile. If he gets injured, you're going to have to play Delo at left back, aren't you? Tough Man says, do you think Malacia is a good enough backup? I don't know. Well, I thought he did all right last season, but that was his first season. I think we need to see him playing more games, certainly. Yeah, certainly. No two ways about it. Is it an ACL, says Marvin? I think it was his knee. For some reason, I thought it was his ankle, but I think it was his knee. Just on the poll, by the way, FA Cup game at the weekend. Would you go strong, like me, or would you play some reserves? Very interesting. This is what you call democracy. 56% of you said you would go with your best 11, and 44% of you said you would play reserves. I can see it, but I would go with the best 11, get some fluidity, get some rhythm ahead of that Wolves game on Thursday, and then make some subs when you're 6-0 up. Hopefully. Of course, that game's on Sunday, and as well, of course, we will get a press conference for the first time in ages tomorrow with Erik ten Hag. And can I say, Erik ten Hag 100% wanted to bring somebody in January. And any manager does. Any manager. There's not a manager out there that goes, put your money away, I'm fine. Of course, Erik ten Hag wanted to bring somebody in January. This is a business decision, the same as it was last year. Ten Hag wanted Gakpo in January, he wanted João Felix, he ended up without Weghorst. He would have wanted somebody, because a manager always does. And in fairness to Ten Hag, you look at that squad, it's not like he's being greedy or spoilt. It's a striker. That's what he needs. He needs a striker. Rasmus is very exciting, and I think he's going to be the man. And Rashford can do a job there, but we've had so many bad injuries. And I think that's a good point as well. What part of our fan base thinks that these injuries are just going to disappear because everybody's back? I think we will continue to get injuries for a very long time. I would say there's more likelihoods of getting more injuries in the second half of the season than there is in the first. I just hope we don't get them to people like Martinez and Casemiro, who've had half a season injured. And remember, look, it's not sustainable. I mean, I'm not here to get political on football, but it's not sustainable to play this amount of games. I look at some United players, they played a World Cup, they had a short summer, they went on tour, they've had a big season, they're back again. At the end of this season, they're straight into the Euros, they're back on tour, they're back into a new season. So it's always going to be the way. And I think that this is something that Ineos have definitely 100% got to look at. In fact, I put it on Twitter today. I know that some of you might know who I'm talking about. I forget his first name. I think it's Steve. Professor or Dr. Steve Peters, I think his name is. You might know him from various things. He's been on the podcast with a few people, and he's also worked with Ronnie O'Sullivan. He worked with Sir David Brailsford on the British cycling team, and Sir David Brailsford is quoted as saying that it's his best ever appointment. Well, what is this guy all about? He's all about mentality. If you think about Ronnie O'Sullivan, who's a snooker player, he's had quite an erratic career, but he's probably the best player that's ever played the game. And over recent years, he's worked with him on the mental side of things. I wouldn't be surprised if we bring somebody like that in, whether it's Professor Steve Peters or not. I think that he may well do that, because we have got to work on this side of things without a shadow of doubt. I think he worked with Liverpool as well. I'm sure he worked with Liverpool. I think it was, I don't know whether it was pre-Klopp or something, but whether it's this particular relationship that Ineos have with this particular professor, or whether it's somebody else that gets brought in. We heard Ten Hag talk about this a year ago. I think that Man United need this. Like, the mentality margins that you can make up if you can get into people's head, and not everybody's made like this, but you look at United players throwing their hands in the air, not tracking back. If we can make or get, mentality kings into this team, then I think we will see a big difference. And I'd be very surprised if that isn't something, because we're hearing about sackings and recruitment all over the time, aren't we? What about Diallo starting in the main team, says Sheriff? Well, you could start him, I suppose, but I think that Garnacho is the guy that I want to see playing, and I want to see Rasmus playing, and I think we all know Rashford will play. You know what? I think Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, they're the two players I'm looking at. I think that I think we're going to see a very different Rashford and Bruno in the last few months of this season. I know there's a lot of division around those two players at the moment, but you talk about new manager bounce, new owner bounce. I think that these players want to show that they want to be part of the project. Now, the thing that worries me is I know they're capable of doing it for 4 months, but can they do it for 4 years? Ineos need to be awake to that and be monitoring that, because there are players in that team that can do it for 4 months but can't do it for 2 years. So, but I really do expect with Rashford and Bruno, we're going to see a different second half to the season. The fourth richest club in the world broke its pathetic management of the club. The Glazers' recruitment up top coming seriously home to roost, says Ian. Well, look, I'm not going to beat about the bush here. The fact that for the second January in a row we've not had any money left is disgusting. Now, we can all say we've got Ineos here now, so they're a fresh page, and they are, but it doesn't mean we should just go, oh, everything's new now, this is acceptable. It's bloody disgusting that we've got no money to spend in January for the second January in a row. But we know, we've heard quotes from Murta before, we've heard quotes from other people in the club that, yeah, we don't like doing business in January, we like to do it in the summer. It's absolutely idiotic. It's an idiotic approach to be like that, because what happens is, you go halfway through the season, you find a few problems, you get a few injuries, and it would be nice to adjust it in January. And then we never have any bloody money. For the last 2 years, we've never had any money. And I'll argue with anybody that the January transfer window can be a time to make a real difference. Liverpool did it with Diaz. We did it with Bruno. Liverpool did it with Van Dijk. It's happened with many clubs. You can make a difference in January if you've got some money. But to not have any money, it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And that's the position we're in, isn't it? We don't have any bloody money. Michael says, yeah, if the Glazers hadn't taken 30 million out the kitty, then maybe we would have some. But Lee Berman's right. We have been bit hard by the financial fair play. But look, all that's going to change, and it's not going to change in time for the January transfer window. I think the big question is, what do you think? And get in the comments and tell me about this. What do you think is achievable between now and the end of the season? Because I think there's a lot of people who are hoping what's achievable. But what do you think is achievable in the next between now and the end of the season? I think we've got to go all out for the FA Cup. But do you think we can win the FA Cup? I don't think we can get top 4. I think that's an absolute pipe dream. And also, I will be fair, I don't think if we brought a striker in, we'd get top 4. So maybe, in all honesty, maybe the club are looking at it and going, it's a waste of money to bring a striker in. We're not going to get top 4 anyway. But it could have helped us in the FA Cup. I think we've got to be in Europe next year, and it's probably going to be Thursday night football. But you never know. You never know. 5th place could get Champions League football. If Arsenal and Man City do well in the Champions League, Liverpool and Brighton do well in the Europa League, and Aston Villa do well in the Conference League. Is anyone else in Europe? West Ham are in the Europa League as well. If they all do well, then we might get well. We might end up getting that 5th spot. So we've got to try and get as high as we can in the league, because we've got to be in Europe next season. People will go, I'll be better off not being in Europe. I'd rather not be in Europe on a Thursday night and we can train all week. But the revenue will dictate what we can spend in the transfer window. Even the Europa League brings money in. Yes, the Champions League brings tens of millions of pounds in. It brings in a lot more. But the Europa League brings millions in, and millions are better than nothing. So we do need to be in Europe. There ain't no doubt about that. And I think realistically, we've got to go all out for the FA Cup, and we've got to try and win some league games. But I can't predict what's going to happen, because I think we've been so crap this season. You can't look at the first half of the season and say we're going to have an assault on the top 5, or we're going to go and win the FA Cup. So much depends on what his starting 11 is. What's his best 11? I think that's where it all depends, because if he's going to go Casemiro, Mainu and Bruno, I think we've got a chance. If he's going to go Casemiro, McTominay and Bruno, we've got no chance. If he goes Casemiro, Eriksen and Bruno, we've got a bit of a chance. If he goes Casemiro, Mount and Bruno, I'm terrified. So it really depends what he does with his midfield. I presume he's going to go with Martinez, Varane. But we don't even know what his best 11 is going to be this season. I don't think he's ever been in a position where he's had everybody fit. So it also depends what he goes with in relation to his best 11, doesn't it? Tahu says, finally, Bienda's going to get some time. Yes, he is. Delusional Unicorn has been a member for a month. And Alan says, we must get to the final of at least the FA Cup. I believe this could be our best bet to get European football. FA Cup does get you Europa League, yes. United Federation, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. We also need to be very careful, because if Chelsea win the Carabao Cup but don't finish in the top 7, then you don't get Europe below 6th, I don't think. So we've got to be very, very careful. BT Max says, I love the hoodie. Where'd you get it? If you're on YouTube, United Stand on YouTube, you'll see the link to it. But if you're on TikTok, just type in United Stand Shopify, or maybe somebody who's on TikTok can just drop the link in there from YouTube. You didn't understand the Mount transfer in the first place. Yeah, sorry, Tom said didn't understand the Mount transfer in the first place. Yeah, well, answers on a postcard for that. Wazim, thank you very much for your super chat. I think the Mason Mount question will be answered like many. I mean, you could almost get this pen and paper and just write down a big list of things and then come back to it in May. And you could write down what was his best midfield 3, why did he buy Mount, did Onana work, did the centre-back pairing work, did we start playing a higher line, You know, did we start scoring more goals? Did the league position improve? Did we play better football? I mean, Ineos will be writing it down. I think this next 4 months, some people say, oh, God, the season's over. I think it's a massive dress rehearsal. I really do. I think it's a massive dress rehearsal for the manager, for certain players. We don't know what the summer's going to be. I don't think Ineos know what the summer's going to be yet. Till you get that director of football in, I don't think you do. That jumper is fire, says Stephen. Yeah, you can get it in different colours as well. I've got a black one. We really like it. You can get a mug as well. What else? Let's get some questions in here. Wolf says, I think the Mount deal will end up being a disaster. Mount, it was meant to be Eriksen's replacement. I thought that was very obvious, says James. Yeah, you're right. You're very simplistically right, James, there, and I'm not being offensive, but you, in a simple way, yes, Mount was the replacement for Eriksen. But if you go back to what we said in the summer, we wanted to stop using Eriksen in the midfield because last season we got run through by better midfielders every time we played Eriksen because Eriksen's not physical and he's not defensive. So we got run through in the midfield a lot last year. So replacing Eriksen for somebody with more legs, we needed to replace Eriksen with somebody who can tackle and track back. So a quicker Eriksen doesn't solve the problem, I don't think. Unless Mason Mount's going to evolve into a box-to-box player who can pick up the runners and be physical, then whoever plays holding midfield in a midfield with Mount and Bruno is going to get run over. We saw it with Casemiro at the start. We saw it with Mainu as well. You've got to have a balanced midfield, and Eriksen can't track the runners. Can Mason Mount do that? That's what we're going to find out. If Berardi wasn't named CEO, would you go for him, City and Barcelona, or Blanc, PSG and Juve after their problems? Says Wazim. Well, Blanc's going to be on the board and Berardi's going to be the CEO, so I think you've got the perfect thing there. Will you be streaming the Sir Jim Radcliffe Ineos presser, Mark? Says Akash. When is it? I've not even heard he's doing it. I mean, I'll be very interested to listen to it when it happens, but I don't think we've had a time for when it will happen yet. Yeah, I don't think we have. Just having a quick look if there's any announcement on that. No, not heard anything about that yet. I mean, it will happen at some point, and it'll be very interesting when it does, but no, nothing at the moment. And look, I think we've already seen that there's a positivity. Alice Football says, what about Vinicius Jr.? I don't think United can do that sort of a deal. You're going to blow all your budget and all, ruin your wage bill again. I don't think we can do that. But look, we've already seen positivity from Ineos, and I think we'll continue to see positivity from Ineos. That's not going to change. Not going to change at all. That will continue to be the case. And I think when Sir Jim does his interview, he will talk about, expertise, best in class, getting Man United back on top. The more important thing is, if it's achievable, and that's a big if it's achievable, how long will it take? And that's if it's achievable. Bremer's the centre-back from Juventus, Mahad. So I think that we're probably a year away from even beginning to understand what we're all about. I pose this question to you. If we had a decent summer transfer window, and you're not going to have the summer transfer window you need, a decent one's going to provide a little bit more balance to the team. What's achievable next year? I think next year it's got to be top 4. And then the year after that, maybe you can get closer to the top teams. I know it's sad to say it, but it's not sad, but one of Man United's biggest hopes is that the 115 get done, because if Man City get taken out, it's a lot easier for Man United to get closer to Liverpool and Arsenal than it is to get close to Man City. Man City have got the second biggest revenue in the world. They've won the league 3 years in a row. They've won the treble. They've got an amazing squad. They're set up to succeed for the next decade. I don't see us being able to get near Man City for a very long time. And yeah, we've taken a guy who knows the club like the back of his hand, but he ain't going to be able to go like that. And Man City aren't suddenly going to go, oh, we give up, we've lost our guy. it's going to be very difficult to get close to Man City. And who knows how that will work out. Mojo should have a lifelong membership, says Tobias. Do you think that Rashford can find his form? Yeah, I think we all think he can, and I think he will. I've been saying it for about 3 months, but I do think he will. Yeah, Benzema's not going to happen. No, Jay Mooney, you're absolutely correct. That's not going to happen. City used their money machine right, says Sammy. And did you know Kwanzaa has more assists this season than Anthony in all competitions, says Ajit. But I'm not bothered, mate. I know those sort of things do well on Twitter and stuff, but you know, I'm not bothered. Like Joe Gomez has never scored a goal in his career, so you can always find a stat that fits. The bottom line is we don't need to make it about Kwanzaa and Anthony. We need to make it about Liverpool and Man United, and Liverpool are much better than us at the moment, and our job is to be better than that. Hi Mark, would you like Kimmich at Man United? I think he would be perfect, says Gary. Dan John says, what are your thoughts on Faz's tweet on X? Mate, I've replied to a tweet on Twitter about this, and like many things that go on in the world and around the business I work for, I'm not obliged and would not start giving Twitter updates on professional matters. So yeah, you're not going to pull me into it, and I'm not going to comment on it. Things have been done, things have been said, but you know, we're not going to get involved in this. You know, it's like little backbiters on Twitter and stuff talking about nonsense they don't understand about. Yeah, I'm aware of what you're talking about, and it's being dealt with. Hi Mark, of Barada is shown to be involved. If Barada is shown to be involved in the 115 charges for City, will you call for his resignation? Well, apparently he isn't, Ryle. And I won't need to call for anything if he's involved in that, because he will be getting fired. So apparently he's not. Ray, who's been a member for 57 months on YouTube. Can we get a moment for Ray? That's amazing. I don't want to see a Vinicius Jr. at the club yet. We're not ready for that. We need to build. I agree. Kyle says, what about Weghorst and Lingard? Well, Lingard is still... I can't believe Lingard hasn't got a club, by the way. I'm surprised he's not in the TikTok chat, actually, because that's what he seems to be doing, isn't it? I mean, I don't know why nobody's gone near Lingard. I mean, I don't know. As funny as Lingard's career has been recently, I think it's incredible that somebody hasn't gone for him. Yeah, really does surprise me. Career mode's back tomorrow, Laruna, on my YouTube channel. My FIFA career mode is back tomorrow. I do it sporadically now, but it's definitely happening tomorrow. So looking forward to doing that. Right, it's 9 o'clock. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in. Make sure you give us a follow or subscribe or whatever it is you do on TikTok. But I've really enjoyed having the live chat there buzzing through as well. Some good comments in there. And the original legends, of course, on YouTube. You are absolutely fantastic. Make sure you smash a like on the video, of course. And we are back tomorrow with a 10 o'clock show. We've got a reaction to Ten Hag's press conference tomorrow lunchtime, which I think will be very interesting. And where's the hoodie from, says Simon. You can get it if you type in United Stand Shopify. I need to try and get a link, if I can put a link on TikTok next time we do a TikTok one. But United Stand Shopify, you'll find it on there. Thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. Absolute legends. Really enjoyed the chat, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. And if you want to see Beth having her moments outside Old Trafford earlier on, check out the video on YouTube. I'll speak to you all in a bit.